How you doing, everybody? My name is Brain Smasher, and you're locked into whatever we're gonna do now. This is gonna be another CD collection walkthrough thingy-dingy that I do. Let's see. I don't have anything new. I just did a video last night, so this is just gonna be meat and potatoes, talking about my CDs alphabetically. So, turn this down a little bit. Alright. I forgot how good this fucking album is. Sarcophago, rotting metal. So the first CD I've got here, I haven't listened to this in a fucking long time. This is a forgotten band called Corpse Vomit, and I think this is a full length called Bastards of Forever Filth. This is out of Wild Rags in 1996. It's been a really long time since I listened to these guys, so I couldn't tell you much of anything about their style other than just kind of brutal death grind, the mid-90s way. Don't be thrown if you ever see a Wild Rags release and it doesn't have the back of it. Sometimes Wild Rags issues were just the booklet and a disc. I don't know if they were kind of just like a step above demo quality or whatever. But yeah, that's Corpse Vomit. I should probably give this another listen. It's been a long time. Next, I picked this up and I talked about it briefly when I picked it up in Chicago. This is the County Medical Examiners, and the album is Olidius Operettas. Is that it? I thought it had like a longer title. Olidius Operettas. Comes in this really cool packaging. As you can see by the artwork, if you know anything about grindcore, this is total and utter carcass worship. Supposedly, members of the band are all doctors. Now, if you look into it, really I think what it was is just that like one of them was a forensic pathologist or something, and the others were just like in school for pathology or something. Anyway, it was just kind of like a far-fetched gimmick. Anyways, the gimmick is kind of fun. It's nothing new because Carcass used the shit out of it back in the day. But yeah, like this is just straight up Carcass worship. It's pretty good. There you go. There's a band photo. Looking more presidential than most of the people in our elected offices. Anyways, this is County Medical Examiners. It's pretty good. It's not something I put on very often. I want to say I remember liking the EP that came out before this more than the full length, but don't quote me on that. Next, we've got something of kind of an underappreciated classic. This is Covenants, In the Times Before the Light. Really early Norwegian black metal band. I guess I wouldn't say it's all that early. I think this came out in like 94, 95 or so. Just maybe like a year or so when after everything like Emperor's debut, Ulver's debut, Dark Throne's Transylvanian Hunger came out. But this is really good. It's kind of a precursor to what Dimmu Borgir wound up doing with their albums. I want to say, this was released probably like right along the same time as For All Tid came out. But this is a really cool record. I don't listen to it very often, but every time I do, I think, wow, why don't I put this on more often? If you're a fan of Arcturus, Dimmu Borgir, anything that's a little bit more on the synthy side of things for Norwegian black metal, definitely check this out. It's really one of those landmark albums that kind of created a genre and then got buried underneath it. It doesn't really get the credit that it deserves. They later did a reissue or re-recording of the album. I want to say, I think I have it, under the name Covenant. This band later turned out to be called Covenant with a K. It had Hellhammer in it and stuff like that. They went into like a cyber black metal sort of realm. Anyways, that is a pretty good album. Next, we've got one of my honestly, I don't listen to this band nearly as much as I used to, but when I first got into metal, this was one of my favorite things when I first got into metal. It's Cradle of Filth. I'm just gonna start off with a bootleg piece of shit. This is just a stupid live bootleg, but the reason I have it, it's a live show from 1994. The reason I have it is that it has one of the demos, Total Fucking Darkness from 1992 on it, but I can't tell you the last time I listened to that one. But the one I really sunk my teeth into, when I got into metal, this had just came out in 96, I guess? I don't know. It's been so long since I delved into this album, but I still stand by. This album is just a fucking classic, and I can't believe anybody lets Cradle of Filth get away with putting out music after this fucking album. You know, this album came out, blew my fucking mind. I got way into black metal. The next thing was Vampire for me. I fucking love that one, and honestly, to this day, I think I like this one a little bit more than I do Dusk and Her Embrace. These are killer fucking songs. This is a heavy metal fucking classic. And the debut, Principles of Evil Made Flesh. Great album. A lot of these songs were re-recorded on this, and I prefer the versions on here. I've always just kind of had trouble fully sinking my teeth into this album for some reason. I'm not sure if it's the production is just kind of a little bit strange, but I don't know. It's a really genre-defying album and band that I don't really listen to quite as much as I did in the late 90s. But yeah, I used to just fucking live and die by this fucking band. I saw their first live US appearance at the Milwaukee Metal Fest in 1997. It was pretty great. I got their autographs. I got to meet Nick Barker, Danny Filth, and all those guys. Yeah, Cradle of Filth. And like, I remember, so I got way into black metal, and then I remember hearing about Cruelty and the Beast is going to come out, and I just couldn't wait for this thing to come out. What was it going to be like? I saw them live after the release of Dusk and Her Embrace, and I gotta say, I was completely and utterly let down. It was probably the first time a metal band, for me anyways, had completely let me down. I had been into metal for like 2 or 3 years or so, and it was kind of a learning experience. It was like, you know what, I'm just gorging on all these great albums coming out in the late 90s, and then finally one of them just fucking is a turd. Undeniable, stinky, fat fucking turd. Cruelty of the Beast sucks. I'm not sorry about it. It's a piece of shit. That band died when that album was released. And I heard a lot of people saying, like their last album, what was it, The Witch and the Butt or whatever, came out, they were like, oh, they're back, they're just like they used to be. I listened to that fucking piece of shit, and it's garbage too. Get over it. Cradle of Filth is fucking dead. Let's move on. So, speaking of moving on, here's a band a lot of people talk about, and I feel like maybe I just have the wrong album. This is Kraft's Terror Propaganda. Let's see, Void, I've heard, I thought it was decent. I think the one I need to get maybe is Total Soul Rape, but I put this on the other day, and I didn't really like it. I want to say it had a drum machine from what I remember. Yeah, it just didn't really do anything for me. It's just kind of cheesy, but I remember liking their other stuff a little bit more than this. So, yeah, that's Kraft. Next, we got a band I've talked a little bit about because 2 of these I've gotten in recently, and I talked about them when I did. So, this is a band called Cranium. This is Speed Metal Satan, the first EP. This is Speed Metal Slaughter, the debut full length. And this is Speed Metal Sentence, the sophomore and final release from this band. Now, this band is, supposedly this band goes way back into the 80s. Members of Dawn, mainly, are in this band, Cranium. It's got the guitar player and Jukka Peterson from Dawn, Regurgitate, Retaliation, and I think he's in a band called Earth now, or Circle of Earth or something, or Circle, I'm not sure what it is. It's some doom band anyways. But these are all on Necropolis, and this is just kind of like retro thrash with a little bit of comedy. Somewhere maybe kind of like Foreign Noir, Necromantheon, that kind of thing, only with just a hint of melody and a lot of humor. It's pretty fun to listen to. But supposedly this band was around back in '85 and they never recorded anything. They grew up a little bit and they started doing the band Dawn, one of my favorite fucking bands, doing Dawn. And then after, I don't know what happened with Dawn, who will ever know what fucking happened with Dawn, but they started doing Cranium. And so I picked this up in a used bin many years ago, and I really like it. I couldn't really tell you which of these three I like most, but really fun band. Check it out in the description below if it sounds interesting to you. These two are Russian bootlegs of the originals, because the originals that came out on Necropolis go for a goddamn fortune. Probably 75 to 100 bucks if you wanted to get the originals of those, but this is the real deal. I know that much because I bought it fairly soon after it was released in 98 maybe? 97. Yeah. So that's Cranium, and that does it for this CD collection update. Thanks for joining me. If you're not subscribed, go ahead and do so. What are you waiting for? And lastly, by all means, fuck God.